Thank you. Hi, I'm Keira. I'm a Wikipedia editor based in Wales. I began editing Wikipedia at the end of 2023 and soon noticed a gap in the amount of articles related to LGBTQ plus history in the UK, but specifically in Wales. A good example of this gap can be seen when you look at the categories for LGBTQ organisations in both England and Wales. England has 20 articles, but Wales only had 4 when I began editing. From my personal experience as a queer person in Wales, I knew it wasn't the case that Wales doesn't have any LGBTQ organisations or history, but rather that the history isn't being represented on Wikipedia. I was really keen to kind of help close that gap. So I began editing and learning how to create articles in my hope of expanding the coverage of LGBTQ organisations and notable queer people in Wales. Earlier this year, Gemma, Wikimedia UK's Wales and Language Programme Coordinator, reached out to me to see if I'd like to take part in a Trans Plus History Week editathon that she was holding in Cardiff. It was a really brilliant experience. It was the first time I got to meet other Wikipedians in person and talk about this thing I really love doing. It also gave me some vital insight into Welsh language Wikipedia, and I got to see one of my articles translated into Welsh. Getting the chance to talk to more experienced editors mean I didn't feel like I was editing alone, and I now have people I can reach out to for advice. Many of my friends are queer and also have experience in activism and academia. And when I talked to them about the editathon, they got quite a bit jealous, especially when they found out that the Wikipedia library gives access to academic journals. I emailed Gemma to see if we could set up a bit more of a closed editathon where they could learn the basics of editing. And we held that in September. Since then, I've already met up again with my friends just to focus on editing Wikipedia, and we just join up, edit together, sort of gossip about and become scandalized at the prominent trans people who don't have their articles. I mean, Tuna Roche, anyone? But beyond it being something that I do with my friends, I've realized editing Wikipedia can be a form of collective knowledge activism. And I really believe that some of the best placed people to do this work are the people whose histories are missing. When queer people, trans people, and people of colour start collectively editing, we begin to notice things. We see the sections that are missing and the names that are left out, and we end up going in deep dives to fix these gaps and bring our own knowledge to the table. We're using our memory of events and community happenings to form the skeleton of the article and work together to find references that bring it to life. We're often getting lost in that history, reading about old queer scandals and niche court cases that might not quite make it onto Wikipedia, but we find ourselves interesting and we see ourselves reflected on that history. I would say this isn't always easy though. Journalism in Wales is struggling, and I'm aware of 4 separate newspapers in Wales that have been axed just in the past 5 years. This has led to worse coverage of Welsh news in general, but the impact on the LGBTQ Welsh community has been devastating. It makes it so much harder to find references as the mainstream press just isn't concerned with what the LGBTQ community in Wales is doing outside of Pride. I personally know 2 gay journalists who have both left the industry due to their papers either closing down or their stories about LGBTQ community constantly being refused by their editors, as they just get told no one's interested in that kind of thing. Adding to this, many resources are restricted to library access only, meaning you kind of have to plan entire trips to expand articles. But I found that when the subject's close to your heart and the coverage impacts your community, it's a lot more motivating to make that trip, especially when you've got friends to share that experience with. I've actually made trips since I put this together with friends to look at the National Broadcast Archive clips in libraries. And I really sort of treasure that experience of just going with my friends to just nosy at bits. So I guess what I'm saying is that people who are marginalized in multiple ways are so important to Wikipedia and they don't even know it. I think it's vital we're making those connections and helping support the communities to share their history and stories. It doesn't always have to be a massive funded project either. There's a lot of power in just sharing space with others in the STEAM community, eating Welsh cakes, gossiping, and learning our way around Wikipedia together. It begins to feel like home and I feel represented there. And I hope we're able to bring some of that representation to Wikipedia. Yeah.